parachute troops are the shock troops of the air. These men are individually selected, alert and aggressive soldiers with a high degree of initiative who utilize the parachute as their means of transport to the battlefield. They will be called upon to perform difficult and hazardous combat missions. But before they become members of parachute tactical units, they must undergo 4 weeks of rigorous training at a parachute school. Here they are taught the technique of parachute jumping and packing. Let us see how these hand-picked men become expert parachutists. Strong legs and healthy lungs are prime requisites for parachutists. Daily running exercises are performed by the students to build the leg muscles and to develop the stamina they will need in combat. Each parachutist should be able to run a mile in full equipment in 5.5 minutes. Special calisthenics take the kinks out of muscles not commonly used. These hardening exercises are similar to those performed by college football players. The use of Indian clubs develops strong wrists and coordination between arms and legs. Stall bars build up the abdominal and stomach muscles. Climbing 30-foot vertical ropes soon develops a husky set of shoulder muscles on the student. Special apparatus, such as the trampoline, is used to teach body coordination and control. Here the instructor demonstrates some of the advanced exercises which may be accomplished on this apparatus. Note that the body always follows where the head leads. During his first week, the student is acquainted with the parachute by means of suspended harness training. Hoisted aloft in the regular harness, he is taught the mechanical manipulation of the parachute in descent. He controls his direction by pulling down on his risers. Short, jerky strokes prevent oscillation near the ground. He is taught how to turn his body in this harness to face in the direction of drift at the instant of landing. Tumbling enables the jumper to distribute the landing impact or shock throughout the body. Students are taught to tumble over the right or left shoulder using the respective forearms as a guide or lever. Paratroops are trained in the fundamentals of hand-to-hand combat. Great confidence is gained by the individual soldier when he knows that he is equipped to disable an enemy quickly. In the huge packing hangars on 40-foot tables, students begin instruction in the technique of parachute packing. They learn to fold the panels of the parachute canopy, 2 men working together, each man folding 1/2 of the canopy. See how the panels fall neatly into place. After each half of the canopy has been folded, the lines are dressed evenly and smoothly at the skirt, and the sides are reversed. After a week of practice, the student can fold his canopy within 4 minutes. When the canopy has been completely folded, it is fitted to the width of the parachute pack by turning in the sides of the folds. It is adjusted to the length by use of a folding iron, which ensures constant length of the folds. Here the instructor does a pull-off, demonstrating how the parachute deploys from the pack prior to inflating. Daily, the student gains confidence in the performance of the parachute. Students make daily runs to the training area. During the second week, students receive jump training on equipment devised to teach them the mechanics of jumping from a plane and landing. Strenuous physical exercise is required of the students during the second week. This is the trainasium, a compact and complete outdoor metal gymnasium on which students perform a variety of exercises. They climb quickly to the top of the trainasium and into the horizontal tunnels through which they travel using the hands and feet to propel the body forward. Weaving down a maze of horizontal bars called the jungle tower stresses and pulls on the back muscles. An 8-foot jumping platform accustoms the ankles to shock and impact and teaches the jumpers to land on the balls of the feet. They develop into agile climbers by going up a 25-foot rope and sliding down a metal pole. Traveling up the inclined ladder hand over hand develops strong biceps and grips. This is a 40-foot ladder inclined at an angle of 45 degrees to the ground. Through the tunnels they go again, this time feet first and holding the body in a horizontal position by using the hands overhead. A 10-inch catwalk teaches balance. Note how these catwalks are shaped to exercise and develop the ankles. Finally, the students are required to descend an inclined ramp without the use of the hands. This teaches balance and coordination and exposes height phobia. The student who is afraid of height will not do this exercise well. In order to ensure correct body position and technique in jumping from a plane, the student is required to jump from an elevated door mock-up 30 feet above the ground. Here he experiences all of the sensations of an actual jump from a plane. A tap from the instructor is the signal to go. The instructor watches carefully to determine if the student is a weak or vigorous jumper. His harness being attached to a flexible cable, the descent is broken so that he lands without injury. Here in slow motion, we see a perfectly executed individual exit from this simulated plane. The student, having been checked for his individual performance as a jumper, next practices jumping as part of a team of 12 men who will leap from a plane in flight within 10 seconds. It is essential that this team of masked jumpers work smoothly and evenly, for it is here that the weak, hesitant, or highly nervous jumper can endanger the lives of the men ahead and behind him. A parachute rarely descends in an absolutely vertical plane. It will drift with the same velocity as the wind at the time of the jump. The apparatus you see here is a landing trainer, which teaches the student to absorb the landing impact with his leg muscles and the momentum of his forward motion with a tumble and roll. He slides down the trolley and is released by the instructor just prior to his contact with the ground. A quick roll, and he is on his feet, ready to move out. Tumbling practice continues, this time from 4- and 7-foot platforms, jumping both forwards and backwards and rolling to regain the feet. During the second week of packing instruction, the student learns to stow the 28 suspension lines of his parachute. He must train his hands and fingers to stow these lines neatly in their place in the pack so that they will pull off evenly and smoothly during deployment of the parachute. The folded canopy is placed on the stowed lines and the cover is ready to be laced to the pack. Thus, at the end of the second week, the students are already proficient at the complete packing of their back or main parachute. Written and graded tests are given to each student to ensure individual proficiency. The parachute towers, stretching 250 feet into the sky, stand out as the proving grounds for the parachute student. On these towers, during his third week of training, he puts into practical application all the theory of jumping technique that he has learned thus far. He must prove that he can take it both physically and psychologically. This is the final test of training before his first parachute jump. Work begins on the control tower, or rather the fun begins on the control tower, for here you see the student receiving a ride in a seat that would cost him 50 cents at a World's Fair. A push of the button, a roll of the cable, and up he goes for his first parachute ride. The first bird's eye view of the ground, no place for a nervous soldier. The parachute is guided by cable during descent, and the shock at the bottom is taken up by rubber shock absorbers in the seat. When he has become accustomed to the sensations of descent, the student goes up on the control tower again, this time alone in a parachute harness. He repeats these jumps until he has demonstrated that he can apply the correct principles of landing. Along with tower training, the paratrooper learns to collapse his chute in a high wind. A wind machine forces the chute to drag the jumper along the ground. He pivots on his back, and the inflated parachute pulls him to his feet. Running quickly around the canopy, he turns it into the wind to deflate it. Now to check the nervous reactions. What will the student do under stress? The shock absorber harness gives concrete proof of these reactions. Hoisted 150 feet into the air, he pulls a ripcord upon command of the instructor and falls 20 feet through space to be jerked into an upright position by his harness. He must not delay in pulling the ripcord, and he must count aloud as he falls through space. When he can take this, the student can take anything. The final test of the student's ability as a jumper is made on the free tower. Here the parachutes are permitted to drift free of the tower and descend under control of the jumper. Held open during the ascent, the parachute inflates immediately after release, and for the first time, our student actually makes a parachute descent from 250 feet in the air. Instructors on the ground grade the student on each jump. They must slip away from the tower, get the body into position, pull down at the instant of landing, and roll to their feet. Here you see the student manipulating his parachute. Three at a time from the top. It looks easy, but descending at the rate of 17 feet per second, an untrained jumper might snap a leg like a stick of dry wood if he does not know exactly how to cushion that landing shock. Finally, the student is released from the top facing backwards and is required to turn his parachute to come in for a forward landing. This is a perfect jump and landing. This week, the student learns to pack his reserve or chest parachute, which is carried for emergency use. Folding and stowing this parachute is similar to the main chute pack. By being smaller and free type, it must be closed by means of the ripcord. That bundle is the parachutist's life insurance. Final lectures are given on harness adjustment to be sure that each harness will be snugly fitted to the body. The instructor demonstrates how to collect the parachute after landing to prevent tangling of the lines. Then, for the first time, our student is assigned his own personal parachute, which he packs himself for his first or novice jump. The big day is here. Novice jumpers have a quiet last-minute cigarette before takeoff. There is an exhilarating tension in the air. Unit groups rise for final inspection of equipment. Each man's gear is carefully checked by competent riggers. Each jumper is assigned a definite airplane and jumping order. All groups are ready when the command to move out is given. Jumpers move on the double to their planes. Successive groups enter their ships. Determination is visible in the face of each man as he boards the airplane. Final instructions and orders are given to pilots and jump masters. The big transport planes taxi down the runways for the takeoff, each loaded with 12 fully trained and determined novice jumpers. On the jumping field, wind direction and velocity are obtained by the jumping field master. This information may be relayed by radio to the jump master on the plane, who sets the course. A medical officer stands by to render first aid and medical treatment if needed. The airplane approaches the field at 1,500 feet. The jump master checks his course and drop-off point. The novice jumpers await eagerly. The big moment is here. The command "stand by and hook up" goes back to the jumpers. Equipment checked, static lines snapped. The jumpers await the command to go. "Don't look down, mister. Go!" And out he goes into the blast and wind. A smooth jumping team out into space. The battle cry is Geronimo. With no hesitations, the team clears the ship in 10 seconds. This is the unforgettable thrill, suspended quietly in space 1,500 feet above the ground for the first time. Our jumper will never forget this moment. The critical eye of the field master is on the man. He picks up 3 closely bunched jumpers and makes mental notes of their landing. Awkward jumpers will be told of their mistakes later. The first jump is over, and each student must make successive jumps to achieve the final perfection in technique. The parachutist must continue his physical training while he is jumping, and now the exercises call for more endurance, more muscle, and more determination. An obstacle course of various tactical and natural obstacles gauge our parachutist's ability to endure. Over logs, cross ditches, through upright poles. Balance, muscle, and energy are needed to conquer this obstacle course. The hands and arms, as well as the feet, are used as a means of transport. Our student can now withstand the shock of 10 and 12-foot drops. Over water hazards, and sometimes not quite over. The course ends with a 50-yard dash up a steep hill. Graduation day at last, the culmination of 4 weeks of hard training. In the airplanes, the students await final takeoff for the formation jump, which will earn them their coveted wings. Into the air for the last time as students. Today, they are rewarded for weeks of effort. Each plane is loaded with eager veteran jumpers awaiting the command. Go! The planes empty simultaneously. The sky is filled with jumpers. Men and equipment come out together. Close beside him is the parachutist's fighting gear, which he collects when he lands. Physically fit, highly trained, these parachutists have earned the right to be placed in tactical units of the hard-fighting shock troops of the sky, the paratroopers.